double stops. All right, back here for iFiddle once again this month. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for watching this. Last month, I did a little piece on how to know your way around chords and arpeggios and that kind of stuff. We covered 4 keys, if I remember correctly: C, D, G, and A. And if you know 6 chords, you can get the 1, 4, 5 in each of those keys. The 6 chords to know, and the arpeggios of them were C, F, G, D, A, and E. If you know those 6, you're in the club. You know most fiddle tunes. You can not know the tunes, but you know how to noodle around in the background and make up some backup parts and do some things. So we covered all that last month. So if you're curious about that, check it out. Go back to last month's issue, and you can see that. Mike has asked me to expand on it this month, and I thought the best way to expand on that kind of knowledge is by double stops. Double stops is where the fiddling thing comes in, that fiddle sound. I mean, you can play a melody, single notes, and it sounds nice, but if you add double strings, double drones, double stops, I'll talk about all these, that's where it starts to get really fiddly and really cool. First, before we go there, let me troubleshoot a little bit. If you want to do double stops, it doesn't make any sense to learn anything about them unless you can actually play the bow on double strings with the right angle. So that's the first thing to check on. If you're an experienced fiddler, you know this already, but if you're new to double stops, the first thing you want to be able to practice is, I'll stick my fiddle close to the camera, that if you're playing on single strings, there's 4 bow planes, straight lines in the air to bow on. But there's 3 new ones that your shoulder muscles need to learn in order to do double strings. So there's 4 individual strings, and then there's 3 double planes on a 4-string fiddle that your muscles have to get used to too. This is hard for some beginners. One of the best ways I've taught my students is to, let me put it right against my chin so I get it closer. So here's the G, here's the D, and here's the G-D. See it's in between? G, D, and G and D together. So you have to be able to stroke the bow straight for the whole length of the stroke. Now the trick is here, as I come to the frog, be aware of the tip is wobbling around, because it's just physics. If you're a little bit off here, it's magnified in the tip. So you can kind of, it's a helpful, if your tip is wobbling around, you're probably not stroking straight. So practice some straight strokes on the double strings. The tip is maybe lift some of the fingers off to really get a sensitivity. Now you lose some control without these fingers, but you'll kind of get a sensitivity. And don't do this. We're not looking to do that. We're looking to keep your bow grip as normal with the thumb behind the index finger, and just place it on the string, then lift your other fingers off. And so you really get a sensitivity and wobble it around until you feel both strings. And it's fair to favor the tip. There's a lot more room for error. If you're a little off with the hand here, not much happens. If you're a little off with the hand here, a lot happens. You can get way off. So stick in the tip, release the upper half, D and A. And again, lift these fingers right off. If you can't do that, you're in trouble as far as double stops go. So let's assume you're going to practice that, or you already know it. We'll move forward. Now, I teach that there's 4 kind of different types of double stops. I don't like the term double stop because it means that the fingers are stopping the string somewhere. And not all what's called double stops are true double stops. A lot of them are just a single fingered note with an open string, a drone string. That's more exact about it. But let's go to level 1. Let's include a drone string. It's much easier to get a double string thing if you only have to worry about fingering one of the notes. So the easiest one to do, technically, is if you finger on the higher string. Let's see, an example of that would be E1 on the D string with open G. Technically, it's quite easy. This would fit in a C chord with C, E's, and G's. You know, here's C, C. Nice sounding already. You can slide it. A bunch of things you can do. There's another one similar on the middle 2 strings. Open D with B1. This works nicely for the G chord. G. You dip it. Same thing on the A and E strings. F sharp 1 on the E string with open A. These are the easiest possible ones. So start goofing with those. By the way, those 3 are the 1, 4, 5 in the key of G. Here would be your G, the middle 2 strings. C and D. harmonizes nicely, doesn't it? Those are the easiest entry-level ones. I will provide some charts as free downloads for this too, and maybe little ditties you can try, little exercises. Level 2 is a little tougher. It's with the higher string being open. So technically this means that you have to get your wrist, your elbow in, your wrist off, and get the finger so the flesh back inside there doesn't touch the next string. That's the squeaker. If you've seen my video on my YouTube channel about how to not scratch and squeak in the violin, I go into depth about this. But the idea is, say you're going to finger on the G string, say second finger for a B, and then have open D above it. So the open string is above it. Sounds nice, but it's easy to, if you're a little slacking on your technique, for the skin of the back side of that finger to touch the D string. Listen what happens. Yeah, we don't want that. So you really got to get your finger on your tips and make sure that there's a tunnel of air underneath and back inside the finger. So that's why these are level 2. These are a little more difficult. So there's one in the key of G, G, B, D. Here's a B and D. All right, you can do something similar right close by for the key of D, for a D chord. How about D, F sharp A, and we got D and A1. A1 on G string with open D. Again, you got to have that tunnel between her. So those are convenient right there for music. D and G chords go together in a lot of songs. G chord, D chord. Nice, sonorous, is that the word? I don't know. Right there, right close together. So what else is there? Let's see. There's for an E chord, there's a B1 on the A string with open E. Again, if your flesh touches the E string by accident, yak. So, and see, one other one I could give you. Let's see, a key of C. If you had low to C on the A string, C, E, G, C and E. There's the E chord. So you can try all these. Let's go to level 3. So the next level, level 3, is where it gets a little more difficult, and it gets to our first actually double-fingered stops, or double fingers at the same time. No open strings, no drone strings. Those are the easier levels, level 1 and 2. Level 3 is where we get to double fingers. So let's check this out. We'll go slowly. The easier of the two is related to level 1 in that you have the lower of the 2 fingers on behind the upper. So an example of this would be F sharp 2 on the D string, part of a D chord, and D, F sharp A, as you remember from last month, and an A note on the G string. So again, one note is, the higher pitched note is ahead and the lower pitched note is behind. This is the easier of the double fingered. I suggest making one in tune and then practice. While you hold the first one, slide the lower one. Or until they sound harmonious together. That's used for a D chord, so A and F sharp. Let's see, another example would be, let's see, up on the E and A and E string. So A, the third finger on the E string. Get that tune, you check it with the open string, and then C sharp on the A string. Again, it's behind the A on the fingerboard. And don't be ashamed of it. Hold that A in tune and then slide. And sliding is cool. You can slide them both if you want. There's an example of level 3. Another one might be, the E chord. We didn't do much with this. This is a little trickier. It's half position. You have your low 1 G sharp on the G string. And then since we normally play E on the D string with the first finger, but with first fingers are to be used, try your second finger. So it's like double low. So you're doing what normally first finger E on the D string with your second finger and the G sharp back behind it again on the G string. That one you don't have to slide, you can lift it up. For a Cajun kind of thing. So there's some examples, goof with those. Level 4 then is like level 2, except both fingers, where the higher finger is behind the lower. An example of that would be, say, C sharp high 3 on the G string. This could be part of an A chord, and then E1 on the D string. Again, you can't have the flesh of the third finger touch the D string, or it'll be a lot of awful stuff. Choking a goose there. So get your fingers up in your tips. That's a famous one that's used in Orange Blossom Fiddle. In the beginning, a lot of guys. That kind of stuff. That's fancy bowing. It has nothing to do with the double stops. It's just whipping your bow around. What am I doing there? C sharp and the E1 with open A and open E. So you hear these kind of things. Another one very close to that in the key of C. It'd be C, there's a tonic on the G string, with E1. Nice. Another one very close to that. Keep your C3 right there and low 2 on the D string F. This could be good for the F chord, F-A-C. So here's the F, and there's a C. Alright. Another one that's common is for a G chord, G-B-D. Here's a G on the D string and the B1. Again, keep your finger on your tip so none of that flesh touches the A string. Awful, huh? A bunch of those. So there's 4 different types of double stops, as we call them. Mistermed, I think. Only the last 2 levels are true double stops. The first 2 levels use drones, so double drones, we call it, open strings. And again, the troubleshooting is to not let your fingers touch any of the other strings. Keep your technique very clean. If we had to take this to advanced levels, I had a couple notes. Fifths straight across are hard to get in tune. You got to nestle your finger right between the strings. You can hold a couple and do sweeps. Let's see, like the C sharp and E. This is from classical music too. Sounds really fancy. You're not doing much, but you're rolling your bow. Kind of a cool trick. We already described slides, and you can get into chopping with this stuff. Right down by the frogs. There's advanced stuff you can do with these as well. But first step for most people is just try and get them in tune and not squeak. There's some technical stuff. I hope that helps you out. I will try and provide some fingerboard charts for some of these double stops of these common keys, and maybe write a quick little exercise or 2 that uses them in some kind of real fashion. All right, I hope that helps you out. And it's an expansion on last month's article about playing chord tones. This one's about playing double stops, 2 notes at once, and getting them in tune and sound good and have fun. All right, I hope that helps, and we'll talk to you soon.